Hello, everyone. It's nice driving up this morning. The valley was just so beautiful. Oh my gosh. It was stunning. You know, the other day when I was thinking what I could talk about, two connected ideas. One, I pulled up right as the bells were, ringing. And it reminded me of a very common Buddhist meditation practice, which is to listen to sound, hear it fully, pay attention, and then recognize that it passes and let it go. The practice of that kind of sound meditation is everything is that. It's here for a while, it fades, and then it's gone. All of us, everybody we know, every building, everything is temporary. And the Buddhists use that kind of sound meditation as an ongoing meditative practice in truth. All of our thoughts are temporary, our bodies are temporary, all of our experiences are temporary. We own nothing here. We kind of rent it, maybe, but it's all temporary. And the practice is to use life experiences to watch them rise and fall. So we get used to this, the temporary nature of all experience. You know, the Buddhists have a very profound part of their teaching. And I don't know exactly what their words are. They have different words for old age, sickness, and death, as like the three harbingers or the three announcers of truth, the galloping horsemen who are there to tell everybody all the time, it's impermanent. No matter what you think is yours, no matter how strong you feel today, no matter how much you manufacture that you own anything, it will pass. And with your body, you will have some experience of old age, sickness, and death. And those are meant to be, I don't know the exact term in Buddhism, but they're meant to liberate us from delusion. The delusion of our ownership and the delusion of our permanence, or the delusion that anything actually belongs to us. That these are guides. You know, you're wearing that green and you're wearing the white, and somebody else will wear them. Here. They're not yours. They're just rented for a little while. The reason that I'm discussing this is we went to New York last week and spent 5-6 days there. I had 2 days worth of work, and we decided to take a couple days in New York City, and it was wonderful. But I had a very powerful moment of this impermanence, and it actually shook me a little bit. My father-in-law, back when I was married years ago, was a very powerful business New York executive. And he was the president of a company. He had hundreds of employees. And he was a big shot in a public company. I'm not going to share the company, but, and I remember visiting him with my wife at the time. And these people led us into his office, this big office with a couple of secretaries, and everybody was, "Ooh, you're his kid," and wow, and because he was the big shot. And I mean, he retired relatively young. I think he was 61 years old when he retired, because he and his wife wanted to travel and stuff, and he had plenty of money. And I know he retired over 30 years ago, that I know. So we're walking in Lower Manhattan, and I walk past the building that I had visited him in. Oh, wow, isn't that interesting? And it wasn't exactly, I mean, it's 30 years, so they had redone the building, and it looked more modern, but I kind of remembered. So I went in, just to look around. And like everything else in New York, you can't just walk in anymore. No, like 35 years ago or whatever, you could just walk in, get in an elevator, do whatever you wanted to do. They didn't have all this guards everywhere. I mean, you have to remember now how crazy we are. You can't walk into a Stanford athletic event without having a metal detector. But when I visited my father-in-law, I walked in, I took an elevator, went up to the floor. There was somebody there, wasn't a guard type person. It was like, oh, where do I find X? But I walk in and there's this big desk with like 3, 4 people. And, I walk up there and I say, I haven't been here in decades. I was X's son-in-law. And nobody knew who X was. Now, I couldn't find a person there who had ever heard my father-in-law's name, ever. And he was the Maha of the group for 10 years. Nobody ever heard his name. Nobody knew. It's like, oh, wait, maybe, was he the janitor? I mean, nobody knew. And what an amazing reminder of impermanence. Don't take yourself so seriously. Do not take any of us so seriously. We won't be here for that long. And even worse than that, you'll be completely forgotten. It's one thing that you won't be here for that long. It's another thing that nobody will give a hoot that you were ever here. That's sobering. Truth can be very sobering. Truth, reality, as it is, can be really, really, really humbling, which may be the purpose. No, I mean that. Like, that may be the purpose, because, I'm not a religious teacher, but you read these things, and they're all about our smallness in relationship to God's hugeness. And they're all about, like, honor the big intelligence, not just your little minuscule intelligence. Those are all humblings. That's too big for me to grasp. But walking into this building where my father-in-law had a bit of a big shot, and he had come home many, many, many times, and I heard him talk in big shotese. I'm doing this, and I'm signing this major deal, and I met this person. And he was a big enough shot that he met Bill Clinton, and he met George Bush. I mean, this is not, what I mean? This is not a little big shot. It's at least a medium-sized big shot. Nobody heard of him in the same company. That's true for every single one of us. If you want to see your life clearly, recognize its smallness. So maybe that little bit of humility will come through, and maybe you'll give a damn about others because you've shrunk a little. Maybe. Or maybe you'll open up to the vast intelligence that runs this show. Maybe. But as long as you think this is yours and mine and you're going to be here for a long time, you keep obscured all of the higher stuff, all of it, because you can't find it. If it's my house, where do you have gratitude? Like, where do you see things clearly? When you invite people to my house, well, it's mine, so I don't have to be thankful or humble. It's mine. I bought it. Fine. So you bought it, you rent it for a while, and then you go. I saw, this got me thinking, it was not alarming as much as sobering. I knew it had been a long time, but it was shocking that, like, somebody that important, yeah. I could have walked in and said, like, do you know Ebenezer Scrooge? Like, did he once work here? It was that irrelevant. Not disinterested, just irrelevant. So I was looking through, and I was just thinking, and I happened to be on Zillow, and I went and looked at the home that I grew up in. You know, I was seeing what it would cost now, which my parents bought it for like $12,000, and now it's like $800,000 or something absurd. But they showed a picture of it. It was not that recognizable from when I grew up in it. Yeah, different siding, and they cut down the trees, and there were all these McMansions around it. It wasn't the same. And my parents had lived in that home for 50 years. But that ended 20-something years ago, 20 years ago. It doesn't look the same. So what do you do with reality is part of our meditation. Another thing the Buddhists and the Hindus offer is they tell you to go meditate in graveyards just to see the truth. Just to be able to deal objectively with what your life actually is. It doesn't make it less sacred. It's just acknowledging that it's brief, and you won't have quite the impact that you hope. They make that suggestion, go sit in a graveyard. Just sit. And try, the expanded version is, try to recognize all the lives there that were just as important as yours and just as brief. That they're just, that's just human nature. And try to touch the importance of their life so that, again, we're not quite as self-absorbed. They had the same fantasies of being important and vital and necessary. And it's helpful to remember that that's true for a time. And that's the essence of this life, everything about it. It's true for a time. We are important for certain people for a while, and that's it. And I have found in my own experience very deeply that when I can touch some of this, it humbles me a little. I'm not quite as arrogant, not quite as certain, and maybe not rushing quite as fast, because it's not mine. I'm not quite a guest, but it's not mine. And then you can ask more questions about sacredness. If it's yours, well, what do you have to be sacred about? But if it's just loaned to you, or you have the capacity to steward it for a while, then it brings up different questions. How do I take care of it? Because it's not mine. How do I take care of it? And what's my task here? Not what just do I want, what's my task? What do I do with this life? What do I do with these people and these things that are entrusted to me? That gives entree to more sacred questions, which is different than, like, what's the new furniture that I want in my house? Or, where do I want to go on my vacation? Those are fine questions. They're just barely in alignment with reality. And it seems important. Like, that's why the impermanence is at the very heart of Buddhist psychology, because it's the core truth of this life. Everything changes and ends. Everything. It begins again in a different form, but everything changes and ends. Everything. And the meditations that they offer are all based on that. And so a sound meditation is a really nice practice. And one of the ways that you can, you can practice this is, in the most simple ways, is when somebody's talking to you that you love, and they talk to you, and their voice stops. You can see that as the impermanence of their impermanence. So you better not take them for granted. They talk to you. You hear the words. They stop. It's just temporary. But you can use it as a meditation that, we're having a conversation, but there's no knowledge of how many more conversations we'll have or when the conversations will end. But it's practice, so you can appreciate a little more the conversations and the people. Because impermanence makes a big difference in appreciating stuff. A big difference. And the narcissism of thinking this is ours is an impediment. It's not yours. I mean, yeah, you want to take care of it. And on the earth, you have, games we play, that this is my home. And those are wonderful. But they're not deeply true. They're useful fictions. And it's important. I'm gonna finish by reading one of the great poems on gratitude called Otherwise by Jane Kenyon. And then I'll give you a little bit of a backstory to it, and then I'll shut up. Otherwise, I got out of bed on 2 strong legs. It might have been otherwise. I ate cereal, sweet milk, ripe, flawless peach. It might have been otherwise. I took the dog uphill to the birchwood. All morning I did the work I love. At noon, I lay down with my mate. It might have been otherwise. We ate dinner together at a table with silver candlesticks. It might have been otherwise. I slept in a bed in a room with paintings on the walls and planned another day just like this day. But one day I know it will be otherwise. That is the most accurate conception that I have seen of impermanence. One day it will be otherwise. So the fascinating backstory of this is Jane Kenyon was a somewhat famous American poet in the 70s and 80s. She died in maybe 1995. Her husband was another well-known poet who for a while was the poet laureate of the state of New Hampshire. They met when she was his graduate student, and that was before there were the prohibitions of you can't date your graduate students. So, you know, they got married and they had a wonderful relationship. But I think she was 18 years younger than he was, yeah, somewhere around there. And part of their game of marriage was, well, you're going to get old and I'll take care of you. You know, that was her statement because she was 18 years younger. And in her 40s, she got cancer. And she died, I don't know, she wasn't even 50, I don't think, when she died. And the fascinating thing was, right before she died, she and her husband, they went through a number of her poems to edit them as her last offering. And this was one of the poems that she changed, relevant to her impending death, was the last line of the poem also was, but one day it may be otherwise. But as she knew she had weeks left to live, she edited that last line from it may be otherwise to it will be otherwise. And that's the published version. The final coda of that is the husband in his mid-80s wrote an article or something for the New Yorker, 5-7 years ago, about this, about how shocked he was, how it didn't fit in with his vision that she was going to die before him and leave him alone for 20 years. Never entered his mind. He took it so for granted. And it's been such an awakening for him. You know, that I might say, man proposes, God disposes. But it's been quite an illuminating thing for him to recognize that his vision of things was simply wrong. That he had her for a while, and then he had to let go. And since that's reality, it seems important to contemplate that and see what it leads us to do in terms of how we treat ourselves and other people. Anyway, thank you.